Hi everybody. In this video we're going to be looking at a specific type of altered form of consciousness, and that is hypnosis. And hypnosis is a very controversial form of consciousness. Some people think it exists and is really a truly altered form state, and some people don't think it exists and they think that people are kind of just faking it up there. So we're going to talk about what hypnosis is in this video, kind of the history of it, and the two major theories behind what psychologists think are happening during hypnosis, and then you can kind of decide for yourself what you think about it. So first off, what is hypnosis? There's a lot of misconception about this, but how we define hypnosis is that it is a highly induced state of awareness, which means that you are focused, you're not asleep, you're very attentive to the hypnotist, but you're also very relaxed, and the biggest thing is you are very open to suggestion. So if you're under hypnosis and the hypnotist suggests to you to do something like run around and squawk like a chicken, you're very, very open to that suggestion, more so than you would be if you were not under hypnosis. A little bit on the history of hypnosis. People have been hypnotizing for hundreds of years, but how it first really came to be as how we know it was in 1842, and it was from a guy named Anton Mesmer, and hopefully when you hear his name it makes you think of mesmerizing, because that's where we get the term mesmerizing. Ben Franklin actually coined that term because he had to lead a commission to investigate mesmerizing cures, because they were so confused. They're like, what is he doing? What is going on with all these hypnotic techniques that he was using? So really the biggest thing from this slide is just to know that Anton Mesmer really got hypnosis going the way we know it today. So a big question is, can anybody be hypnotized? And the answer is no. It depends on your level of suggestibility. Some people are very highly suggestible and some are not highly suggestible. So how do you know the difference? Well, we say about 20% of the population is highly suggestible, and this is characterized by people who have rich fantasy lives. They kind of get absorbed in imaginary things like comic books or alternate worlds, or I think about like the anime stories and characters, and like they imagine themselves being in those worlds a lot. Those people would probably be more open to suggestion than people who wouldn't be interested in those things. So about 40% of the people have a low level of suggestibility, and then everybody else is kind of in between. It's really hit or miss. And some things that you can do to see what your level of suggestibility are, take some suggestibility tests. And so I posted a link on my website of a document that has some suggestibility tests in it that you can either read over someone else to see how suggestible they are, or you can have someone read over yourself to see how suggestible you are. And if you're deemed suggestible, then definitely try it out and get hypnotized. I was just talking to Mr. Endress the other day, and Mr. Endress actually has been hypnotized twice. He's highly suggestible, and so he can kind of tell you a little bit about his experience as well if you're interested in asking him. So you do not need to write down this whole slide, but this slide kind of denotes the steps into how a hypnotist will start the inductions. So most of the time, especially if they're performing in like a show on a stage or something, they will call up people who are interested in getting hypnotized, and they'll perform some of the suggestibility tests that are in the document on my website. And they'll determine of those people who is suggestible and who isn't. And they'll actually kick some people off the stage who they determine are not suggestible, because not everybody can be hypnotized, and so if they're up there on the stage, they could kind of like ruin the whole thing if they're not going to be hypnotized. So once they determine people who they believe are suggestible, they'll sit them down, and usually in the back of the room there is a light blinking, or there's a sound that's going on, and the hypnotist will tell the people to focus on that light or focus on the sound the entire time. And then they'll begin a series of progressive relaxation techniques, maybe some more suggestibility tests, and throughout this whole process, the hypnotist is keeping an eye on every single person on who is suggestible and who isn't. And they might even kick some more people off at this time as well. Once they determine their set group of people that they're going to actually go with the whole hypnotist show through, then they start giving them suggestions while they're in hypnosis, and they'll start the process there. So I posted one of the videos I posted was a group of high school students getting induced into hypnosis, so you can kind of check that out to see how the hypnotist does that before he even starts his show. So some questions that people ask about hypnosis: can hypnosis make you do things against your will or remember long forgotten events? And the answer to both questions is a big fat no. Some people think like if I'm under hypnosis, they can brainwash me into doing something I don't want to do. The answer is that you won't do anything under hypnosis that you wouldn't do in real life. And people are like, well, I'm not gonna, squawk around like a chicken on a stage in front of 100 people under hypnosis because I wouldn't do that in real life. Well, people who are under hypnosis that say that, they actually would do that in real life if the conditions were right. And so under hypnosis, then they would as well. In terms of forgotten memory or forgotten events, no court in the United States will accept memories that have been recovered under hypnosis, because it's so easy to, as you've seen through the memory construction part of our memory unit, it's so easy to implant false memories or suggest to somebody that they've had a memory when they really haven't. And so hypnosis is no different. They don't take it as credible whatsoever. Is hypnosis an altered state of consciousness? So here's where we get kind of in the debate between psychologists, and there's really two camps. The first camp of psychologists says that yes, hypnosis is a distinct state separate from sleep or waking. So they call this dissociation. So for example, if someone is not hypnotized and I take a big bucket of ice water and I put their arm in that bucket of ice water, their reaction is going to be very severe. It's going to feel cold. They're going to like show a lot of discomfort on their face. It's going to be a very unpleasant experience for that person. But what we found is that people who are hypnotized, who do the same thing, they'll be told, okay, you're about to put your hand into a warm sand dune. And so the person will put their hand into the bucket and they will not feel cold. They'll have no unpleasant reaction. They won't pull their hand out aggressively. They've even shown on brain scans that the body does not perceive cold. Someone who's not hypnotized, they can stick their hand in that ice bucket, and you can see on the MRI scans and even the PET scans, there are areas of the brain that's lighting up that showing that the person is feeling cold and feeling discomfort. But when they're hypnotized, there is no response in the brain like that. So they call this dissociation. There's a split. Dissociation means separation. There's a split between what you're sensing and what you're actually perceiving in your brain when you're under hypnosis. I've also put a clip on my website about a woman who gets surgery without any anesthetic. She's hypnotized the whole time. And so clearly there is a dissociation between sensation of feeling pain because they're cutting open her leg, her body is sensing pain, but there's a split before it gets to her area of perception in her brain, so she can't actually feel it. The other camp on hypnosis that psychologists have are that people are just being obedient. They're getting up there, they know what to expect with hypnosis, they know that people are supposed to act a certain way, or they might get caught up all in the whole act, and so they're very obedient and they listen. Plus they might be in front of several hundred people at a show and they don't want to embarrass themselves or embarrass the hypnotist, and so they kind of go along with it. So this visual here kind of shows the two camps in one. So in this picture here, there's a woman who is hypnotized, and he has put something that has a very foul odor under her nose, but he's telling her that it's a sweet smelling odor. And again, if she does not react the way that we would under a foul odor, it could be divided consciousness theory, that she's dissociating, or other psychologists will say she's just being a good subject and she's ignoring the bad odor and not actually smelling the good odor. So take it as you will. I don't know what you prefer as your theory. After watching the surgery video, I'm pretty convinced in divided consciousness theory, but I'm sure it happens both ways in certain parts of time and under certain hypnotists. One last vocabulary word that I want you to remember with hypnosis is this thing called post-hypnotic suggestion. So when someone is under hypnosis, the therapist can give them a post-hypnotic suggestion, which is when you are outside of hypnosis, they're going to complete a certain behavior. So for example, a lot of people go to a hypnotist to stop smoking because nothing else is working. And so while they're under hypnosis, the therapist will say, all right, I suggest to you that when the next time you pick up a cigarette outside of this hypnosis session, you're going to feel nauseous. And so if that works, then after the person leaves the hypnosis session, then they'll pick up a cigarette and actually feel nauseous. And there are lots of people that swear by hypnosis as ways to help them overcome some of the things that are here on the screen: alleviating pain, overcoming phobias, and overcoming stress. Those post-hypnotic suggestions can be very, very helpful for people that are highly suggestible. So that's kind of a little brief rundown of hypnosis. You can read about it some more in your module. It's very controversial. There's still not a ton that's known about it, but It's a very interesting thing, and like I said, I posted those 3 videos that you can check out and watch, and I'm sure there's plenty more on the web that you can see as well, and maybe when we come back we can discuss what you guys think about in class.